All right, if you're prepping for the LECPA, you know that joint costing can be a total nightmare. But don't even sweat it, because today we are going to master one of its trickiest parts, the Net Realizable Value method. Seriously, by the end of this, you'll have a super clear framework to absolutely crush these questions on the exam.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll tackle the big problem that trips everybody up. Then, we're decoding the formula you have to know. After that, we'll walk through a real-world case study, give you the ultimate rule for when to use it on your exam, and then wrap it all up with a cheat sheet to make sure this stuff sticks in your brain for good.
Okay, let's dive right into the core problem here. Picture this. You've got one single process that spits out a bunch of different products. Think about a dairy, where raw milk becomes both buttercream and condensed milk. The big, messy question is, how on earth do you assign costs to those products when they aren't even sellable yet?
And that, right there, is the central puzzle. A lot of products, like raw milk or crude oil, they need more work before anyone's going to buy them. This puts accountants in a tough spot. How do you split up those initial shared costs among products that literally don't have a price tag at this stage?
This image breaks it down perfectly. See, you've got your raw materials and initial processing on the left. Those are your joint costs. Then you hit that split-off point, and suddenly you have separate products. But, and this is the key part, they're not finished. They need more processing, which means more money. We call those separable costs, to turn them into something people actually want to buy. So again, how do you allocate those early costs?
This is where the Net Realizable Value method becomes your best friend. It is the exact tool accountants invented to solve this exact problem. So let's decode it.
First up, the official definition. Net realizable value is basically a product's final selling price, once it's all finished, minus all the extra costs you had to sink into it after that split-off point. It's like a clever way of working backward from a future price to figure out what something is worth right now.
And here it is. This is the formula. Screenshot this, write it on a sticky note, and put it on your mirror. I don't care what you do, just burn this into your brain. Net realizable value equals final sales value minus separable costs. It looks simple, but this little equation is the engine for this entire process.
So let's break it down into 3 simple moves. First, we figure out the total final sales value for every product. Second, we subtract those extra processing costs to get our NRV. And finally, we use those NRV numbers to create a simple percentage, a weighting, to divide up the original joint costs. It's a really logical, step-by-step process.
All right, enough theory. Let's make this real with an example from a dairy. They're starting with raw milk and ending up with buttercream and condensed milk. This is the perfect way to see the NRV method in action.
Step 1. We got to find the final sales value. So, as you see in the table, we just take the production amount and multiply it by the final selling price. For buttercream, that's 20,000 gallons times 25 bucks a gallon. Boom, 500 grand. Same thing for condensed milk, which gets us to 1.1 million. So all in, we're looking at a potential $1.6 million in revenue.
Okay, now for step 2. We take those big final sales numbers and subtract the extra costs. For buttercream, that's $280,000, which leaves us with an NRV of $220,000. For condensed milk, we take out $520,000, giving us an NRV of $580,000. And here's the cool part. What we've just done is estimate the value of each product back at the split-off point before any of that extra work was done.
And this number, $800,000, is our new key figure. It's the total estimated value of our products right at that split-off point, and it's the foundation for our final move. We're going to use this to fairly divvy up that initial $400,000 joint cost for the raw milk. And finally, step 3. We find our weighting. Buttercream's NRV is 27.5% of that $800,000 total, so it gets 27.5% of the joint costs, which is $110,000. Condensed milk makes up the other 72.5%, so it gets the remaining $290,000. And just like that, that messy $400,000 joint cost is logically and fairly split. See? Not so bad.
Okay, knowing how to do the math is half the battle. But the exam is absolutely going to test you on when to do it. So this next part, this is your critical study hack. This is how you get these questions right every single time.
This is it, the simple rule you have to remember. It all comes down to one question. Can you sell the product right at the split-off point? If the answer is yes, if there's a market price, you use the sales value at split-off method. If the answer is no, because it needs more work, then you have to use the net realizable value method. It's literally that simple.
All right, let's lock all this in with a super fast review. This is your cheat sheet. Everything you need to remember, all in one place, designed to stick in your brain for the long haul.
Let's do this. Why do we use NRV? To assign joint costs when your products aren't sellable yet. What's the magic formula? Final sales value minus separable costs. When do you use it? Only when there's no market price at that split-off point. And what's the big idea behind it all? You're working backward from a future price to figure out a value today. Got it? Awesome.
And I'll just leave you with this final thought. The NRV method is all about thinking in reverse to figure out value. It's a really powerful mental model. So as you keep studying, ask yourself, what other accounting problems, maybe like present value calculations, or even building a statement of cash flows, also force you to work backward from a future number to find the answer you need today? Let that sink in for a bit. You've totally got this.